Metra's service area is about 3,700 square miles across 6 Illinois counties. And while crime went way down during COVID, no surprise there, it's inched back up despite low ridership. I don't think we're back at 50% of ridership pre-COVID, and yet some of the statistics are inching up. Well, Marni Pyke writes on transportation and politics for the Daily Herald, a returning guest here on WLS, and she's gone through all the data thus far. She's requested some more. She's going to do a follow-up article on this, I'm sure, but it's always great to have her on the program. Marni, several people who I work with here at the station, many people I know, take Metra on a daily basis. Just to be clear, this is Metra, not the CTA. So crime decreased during COVID, got that, but has inched back up despite low ridership, as you wrote in the Daily Herald. Now, I guess we'll start with this question. Please define the phrase inched back up.
Well, it's been a little incremental, right? There wasn't like a huge spurt in, crime dipped in 2020 as ridership dipped. Then it crept up. The average of crimes over the 6-year period I looked at was 245, and there was a high of crimes in 2018 when there was about 307. Then, it tanked to 193, when the pandemic hit and everybody worked from home. It totaled 219 in 2021, and last year it was around 238.
Marni Pyke, do they categorize these by violent crimes versus just unsanitary or disgusting behavior?
There's a huge array, and I'm glad you asked, because these are Metra calls them crime reports, so it can range from, there was a homicide last year in Joliet when someone pushed a man onto the tracks, and there's been an arrest in that case. There's also someone reporting, being, yelled at, or it could also be finding, drug paraphernalia in a rail car. And, the categories that I've got are homicide, rape, robbery, assault, battery, burglary, theft of vehicle, arson, there's just been 2, and then a bunch of drug-related offenses.
And we're talking specifically about Metra here, just to be clear, not the CTA. So has Metra decided to increase the presence of Metra police on the trains or not?
Well, and I think it should be noted that this isn't just trains. Metra's got a vast, miles that they cover. So there's trains, there's stations, there's platforms, and there's rail yards. So the chief said, I talked to Chief Joseph Perez, they feel it's averaging about, what they expected. And just to remind folks, it was 307 crime reports in 2018. And they're working with, there's a lot of variables. The biggest crime is theft. Interestingly, it was about 46% of all.
And that's not off passengers. It probably has more to do with the stations and especially the rail fields. So there's a huge influx of homeless riders on all public transportation systems nationwide now since the pandemic. How significant and troubling is it for Metra specifically?
Right. Well, it's something they're aware of, and it started in 2020. Apparently one of the biggest issues with, some of the homeless riders is, issues of assaults, and those are actually verbal. It's physical, it's a battery. So, these can be people, arguing not just with passengers, but with, conductors or with the Metra police officers themselves. Incidentally, batteries, which you can probably guess, they get problems sort of spike during big events like St. Patrick's Day. And,
alcohol events.
When, you might have a few riders imbibing.
Marni Pyke of the Daily Herald, is crime predominant on any particular route?
I had asked that, and they said it's it's pretty evenly spread throughout the system. Though this was my first my first FOIA, Freedom of Information Act request on it, and I just got really basic data. So I'm hoping to drill down a bit into getting some, line by line data and time data as well in a future.
I know it's going to be expensive. I was talking to a representative of the RTA just a couple days ago on this program last week, and I know it's expensive, but I think the CTA, Metra, the RTA, even Amtrak, I think they're going to have to look at having more police officers on the trains to make people come back in larger numbers, frankly.
Right. That's a good point. And also, if homelessness is, homeless riders using Metra as a, refuge, I mean, surely there's got to be some government social services to help that. I mean, Metra can't be expected to, they're not a social service agency, so you think there'd be some intervention. It's
not a homeless shelter, it's not a toilet, it's a train, and we have to start there and kind of recalibrate how we feel about public transportation. Marni Pyke, thank you very much. We'll read more in the Daily Herald.